34,000 years ago, two children were buried like royalty. Not chiefs, not warriors, children. At Sunghir in ancient Russia, archaeologists found two boys buried head-to-head with thousands of mammoth ivory beads, pierced fox teeth, ivory spears, armbands, and carved objects. Someone had to make those beads, shape them, drill them, and place them one by one. And here's the strange part. These children may not have been the strongest members of the group. One had unusual leg bones. The other may have struggled physically too. In an Ice Age world where hunger was real and every mouth mattered, these children were not thrown away. They were honored. So maybe ancient parents loved children more than we do. But if that's true, why did some ancient societies leave babies to die? Why did some cultures have rules for how much you were allowed to cry for a dead baby? And why did some children grow up belonging more to the state, the gods, or survival than to themselves? But this is where the story becomes dangerous, because the question's not really who was better. The question is, what monster was each generation fighting? Some monsters had teeth, some had hunger, some had gods, some had laws, and some now have Wi-Fi. For ancient parents, the first monster was survival. A baby cried at night and there was no thermometer, no antibiotic, no emergency room, no baby formula. Just darkness, cold, hunger, infection, and one tiny cry that could mean anything. Ancient parenting began with one terrifying job: keep the child alive. Not gifted, not college ready, alive. But ancient parents had one huge advantage: they had people. For most of human history, children were raised by many hands: mothers, fathers, grandparents, older siblings, cousins, aunties, uncles, and other adults. Modern parents call that a support system. Ancient children were loved but not worshipped like tiny kings. They joined real life early. Carry this, fetch that, watch the baby, collect wood, pay attention, do not walk into the fire. Children learned by watching adults. They copied, they helped. They played, but play was often training. Modern parenting asks, how do I build confidence? Ancient parenting asked, can this child become useful before winter? That sounds harsh, but it gave children something powerful. They mattered. Their hands counted. Their help meant something. They were not just loved, they were needed. Modern children can be protected from responsibility for years, then adulthood hits all at once. Money, food, laundry, emotions, relationships, taxes, and the entire future. That's not independence. That's throwing someone out of a plane and calling it a flying lesson. Ancient childhood said, you belong because you contribute. Modern childhood often says, you belong because you're loved. Both are good, both can fail. Too much need can hurt, too much protection can weaken. Ancient discipline came from danger. Near rivers, fire, cliffs, snakes, strangers, and wild animals, obedience was not always control. Sometimes it was survival. Some Inuit parents were known for using calm stories instead of yelling. That was psychology before psychology had an office and a copay. Ancient love was also sacrifice, and one of the clearest examples comes from ancient China in the story of Mencius' mother. Mencius later became one of China's most important philosophers, but before that, he was just a child copying whatever world was placed around him. First, his mother lived near a cemetery, and Mencius began copying funeral rituals, so she moved. Then they lived near a marketplace, and he began copying merchants, so she moved again. Finally, they moved near a school, and he began copying students, so she stayed. To her, parenting was not just feeding a child, it was choosing the world that would shake him. And later, when Mencius became lazy with his studies, she took the cloth she was weaving and cut straight through it. He was shocked. She told him that quitting his studies halfway was like cutting cloth halfway. All the work already done becomes wasted. Was that dramatic? Yes, very. But behind the drama was sacrifice. She moved homes, changed her life, and even destroyed her own work just to make one lesson stay in her son's mind. So yes, ancient parenting had wisdom, community, responsibility, calm teaching, children learning by doing. But then the beautiful picture starts to crack, because ancient parenting also had three dark monsters: death, power, and belief. In the ancient world, babies died often. In places like ancient Rome, infant death was so common that very young babies were not always mourned like older children. Imagine needing a rule for how much you're allowed to cry for your baby. That's not a better world. That's a wounded world. Then came power. In ancient Rome, a newborn could be accepted or rejected. Infants could be exposed and left to die. In Sparta, a child could belong more to the state than to the mother. Then came belief. In Phoenician, Carthaginian Tophets, archaeologists found cremated remains of infants and animals. Scholars still debate the full meaning. Some argue these were infant cemeteries. Others argue they show child sacrifice. Even the possibility is disturbing, because it suggests a world where fear, religion, and community pressure could make adults believe the unthinkable had meaning. That's the scary part. Not that ancient parents never loved children, but that love can get trapped inside a cruel system. Now jump forward. Modern parenting made real progress. Children's feelings matter, their safety matters, their education matters, their voice matters. Many parents now try to break cycles. That's not weakness, that's growth. But modern parenting has its own monster. Stress, money, isolation, mental health, information overload, and the fear that one wrong decision can ruin your child forever. Ancient parents feared death, modern parents fear failure. And failure now has notifications. Especially for parents over 40, many are raising children and caring for aging parents at the same time. Homework on one side, doctor calls on the other, bills underneath. That's sandwich parenting. So modern parents are not weak, they're overloaded. Ancient parents had community but little control. Modern parents have control but often no community. Ancient parents fought death outside the door, modern parents fight doubt inside the mind. But here's the part that breaks the whole argument. When danger becomes real, parenting looks the same in every century. Before World War II, during the Kindertransport, thousands of mostly Jewish children were sent from Nazi-controlled areas to Great Britain. Many parents could not go with them. Imagine that moment. You pack a small suitcase, you button your child's coat, you attach a number tag, you try to smile so your child doesn't panic, and then you put them on a train going to strangers. Not because you don't love them, because you love them too much to keep them with you. Many never saw their parents again. The most loving act was not holding on, it was letting go. And then there is Stephanie Decker. In 2012, a tornado hit her home in Indiana. She pulled her children close and wrapped her own body over them. The house started breaking apart. Her legs were crushed, but she did not let go. Her children survived. She lost parts of both legs. No parenting book, no philosophy, no ancient versus modern debate. Just a mother becoming the wall. That's when the question collapses. Were ancient parents better? No. Were modern parents better? Also no. Ancient parents had community, responsibility, and shared childcare, but they also lived inside brutal systems. Modern parents have medicine, education, child rights, and emotional awareness, but they also carry debt, isolation, anxiety, and online judgment. So the best parenting is not ancient or modern. It's the best of both. Ancient village, modern empathy. Ancient responsibility, modern protection. Ancient resilience, modern emotional safety. Because a child needs love, but a child also needs to feel useful. A parent needs knowledge, but a parent also needs help. And maybe the most dangerous modern myth is this: a good parent should be able to do it alone. No, that's not wisdom, that's punishment. Humans did not evolve as isolated parents doing bedtime battles while answering work emails. We evolved around fires, grandparents, older siblings, neighbors, shared food, stories, and tired adults passing the baby to someone else and saying, "Your turn." That may be the ancient thing worth bringing back. Not the harshness, not the fear, not blind obedience, the shared burden. Because love is timeless, but parenting was never meant to be a solo sport. At Sunghir, someone made beads for children who could no longer use them. Kindertransport parents put children on trains because survival mattered more than staying together. Stephanie Decker gave her legs because her children's lives mattered more than her body. Different worlds, different rules, different monsters. Same impossible job. Ancient parents were not better. Modern parents are not weaker. Every generation of parents stands between their child and whatever monster their time gives them. And parenting is the same ancient promise repeated in every century. I cannot remove every danger, but I will stand between you and as much of it as I can. Now I want a real answer. Comment ancient or modern. And if you say both, tell us this: which monster was worse? The one that killed the body, or the one that crushes the heart?